Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-matic presentation and recording for the first half of the warm-up cycle that we're currently on for civics and government for quarter 3. Before I get started, please let me encourage you to type down the questions and the answers in full in a different colored format, and please remember that you should wait to submit until you get the other screencast presentation for next week's lessons. Let's go to get started from Monday and Tuesday, from February 22nd to February 23rd. Provide a list of 6 current events news topics that you would find different coverage of today on political news stories on major news networks. In this lesson, we essentially learned about different types of current events that are being talked about in our news and media world. However, we also compared and contrast their coverage amongst different news networks that we've come to know. Let's go and get started and dissect some of these current events right now. The first thing that you hear a lot in the news about today is Biden's first 100 days, a pivotal time for most presidents when they come to power. Basically, the liberal media today is endorsing a lot of the policies by the Biden administration and drawing a stark contrast to the Trump administration's policies. Conservative media, however, is questioning, challenging, and at times detesting the Biden agenda. This should come to no surprise, as different news networks have their own agendas in this way. Additionally, Trump's acquittal is also in the news. Liberal media is outraged at the recent acquittal from the second Trump impeachment, and in many ways, some of these liberal news networks are calling for even more action against the former president and the rioters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Conservative media, however, is blatantly overjoyed at the essence that Trump still has a bright political future in some capacity. Only time will tell what the former president will do, but conservative media tends to be okay with that. The pandemic has actually turned into a political issue too of late. Liberal media is advocating for more strict guidelines, lockdowns, and other measures that might help stop the curve and stop the spread of coronavirus. However, conservatives are challenging, questioning reports, stats, facts, data, and lockdowns, as there seems to be this rhetoric of infringement of freedom versus science and intellectualism. Vaccines in schools are also a controversial topic today, as the liberal media advocates vaccines and school closures. Conservatives, of course, would love to have schools open at full capacity, although it seems to me that there seems to be a divide over what course of action is appropriate, and you hear different news networks hashing that out in real time on the news. The iconic power outage in Texas and in other southern states has caused huge political ramifications. The liberal media is citing the need for renewable and clean green energy to help make it more reliable so that this can never happen again. There's even scandals too being reported by liberal media, as Republican Senator Ted Cruz allegedly went to Cancun, Mexico, during the crisis. Conservative media, however, is sticking to the fact that backing traditional energy forms and sources is the way to go, and additionally, this is not the time to advocate for the Green New Deal and other crazy liberal ideas that they would quote in their words as such. And last but certainly not least, global issues. The liberal media today is advocating for Biden's view of the world and their administration's policies. Whether it's Iran or dealing with China, the liberal media is in many ways endorsing the Biden approach to some of the global issues of our time. Conservative media, however, is scared of the Biden agenda and stoking concern amongst its viewers. There is a reason why on conservative media you'll hear a lot of fear and concern over the recent ramifications of the Iran nuclear deal in dealing with China and other forms and means of foreign policy. Let's move on to the next question today. For Thursday and Friday, why is understanding fake news important in the media? And what key factors indicate fake news in our news media? Let's go ahead and get started. Fake news can best be defined and understood as news that is not real or altruistic or genuine. The purpose of understanding fake news, though, is important for us in our world today because fake news can have huge impacts on people's opinions and actions and more. Additionally, speed of news warrants concern with fake news. You see, advanced forms and mediums allow for circular reporting of news to take place. In our 24/7-hour news cycle, it becomes imperative that people understand the information they're getting before they pass it on at an expedited rate. Additionally, there are multiple publications that exist in our news media world that can report on one story and be portrayed as a supported fact. And as you can imagine, like wildfire, with one source supporting a school of thought, so too can other sources over time. There's different types of fake news sources as well, like satirical articles that are meant to be sarcastic and cynical in nature and far-fetched, but they can be believed as true despite over-emotional and far-fetched stories. Additionally, personal media today, especially with social media, now allows people the ability to create, share, edit, broadcast, and do more when it comes to media and news on their own. So beware of individuals with their own agendas coming out with publications and news works and news stories on their own. The most important thing about fake news to understand is that you can have a role in stopping it. Fact-checking is really important. Making sure that you yourself can verify the stats, the facts, the data, the graphs, and visuals is key. And only you really have the power to decipher fact from fiction for yourself, so you can ask yourself this question whether or not you're going to propel fake news or be a deterrent to stop the spread. Thank you very much for tuning in. And remember, please wait to complete the second half of the warm packet cycle on your own. Thank you.